If you're a fan of the weird, strange and true stories like me, delivered in a story format, then you've come to the right place. I will be uploading a couple times a week. If that's of interest to you, please give the like button a click and subscribe to my channel and turn on all notifications so you won't miss any of my uploads. Let's get to today's story. Delphos, Ohio. A possible werewolf area in the Great Black Swamp days. In the town of Delphos, Ohio, residents recalled a priest that would tell tales of a werewolf that terrorized the area near the new St. John's Catholic Cemetery, now Resurrection Cemetery, in the late 1800s. According to legend, the area, which is now Resurrection Cemetery, was once the stomping ground for werewolves during the Great Black Swamp days. Resurrection Cemetery is located on Lincoln Highway and Defiance Trail, east of Delphos. A local resident tells a story. When I was a kid, we would have church campouts along the Auglaize River next to the cemetery, and the priest would tell some pretty wild stories about werewolves in the area, Delphos resident K. Gordon recalled. There is usually a kernel of truth to any given legend. But what could possibly explain the presence of werewolves in northwest Ohio, or anywhere else for that matter? The most mundane explanation is that there were in fact wolves in the area during that point in our history. Man had not yet hunted them out of the area, and it's very likely that this is the explanation for early werewolf reports. However, one of the more interesting paranormal solutions could lie with Native American traditions. Many tribes had traditions of shapeshifting, and perhaps the local Shawnee shamans were able to transform themselves into wolf form as part of their religious rites. Many Native Americans believe it's possible, so who's to say it isn't? Another extraordinary explanation could be that the early pioneers had made contact with a Sasquatch or Bigfoot. Recently, Ohio has been having more Bigfoot sightings than ever, and has several of the oldest accounts on record. Perhaps the early settlers wrongly labeled Bigfoot as a werewolf because it's the only way they knew how to describe it. Niles, Ohio. In the late 1980s in Niles, Ohio, there were two reported sightings by two young boys. The incidents are not related but very similar. In the first sighting, a young boy and his friend, both around 12 years old, were playing in a field near the boy's home, and it was beginning to get dark. In the field at the time was a thin line of trees and brush separating the field from the railroad tracks. One of the boys kicked an old decaying tree stump and his foot got caught in it momentarily. When he pulled his foot free, he and his friend suddenly heard a loud rustling from the brush, and they looked up to see a figure running toward them from the trees. The figure was running on two legs coming straight at them. They stated it looked just like a large dog with hair all over its body with long claws. The boys took off running toward their house. In the second sighting, a different boy saw a similar sight a few years later. The young teenager was in the woods on the opposite side of town when he spotted a dark figure slowly trailing him. The figure moved from tree to tree, peeking out to watch the boy as he followed him. When the creature appeared to notice that the boy was aware of him, it began to run toward him. The boy took off running home. He also described it as a werewolf. It had the face of a dog with hair all over, and was running on two legs. If you like this video, please click like, subscribe and turn on notifications. Thank you.